Chris, thank you so much for joining us today. So give us a background to the story. Of course, this is a journalist fighting the big guys in court.
Well, sure. This is a story we're following very closely on Forbes Africa. But essentially, it all dates back to the days when Eskom, South Africa's national power generator, was producing more electricity than it knew what to do with very cheaply. And one of the ways in which to suck up this excess electricity was to invite companies that used a lot of it, which is aluminium smelters owned by BHP. They take something like 90% of their cost is electricity, basically to use it to suck up that and sign long-term deals with them, which was fine and fair then. It was a good idea. But now the cost of electricity increased. What's happened is that BHP are paying a lot less than the rest of industry and the rest of us consumers. So what the situation,
of course, putting them at an advantage over other miners.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's cutting their costs. I mean, some of the estimates say that they could be paying as little as 10 cents a kilowatt hour. I mean, the industry's paying about 60 cents. We pay about 90 cents a kilowatt hour, so it's a lot less. So what Jan de Lange has been trying to do is trying to get BHP to expose their secret deal. Well, it's a confidential deal, shall we say, so that people can look at it and find out what it is.
And BHP doesn't want to hand over the documents, but what happened in the court today?
Okay, well, what's happened, there's been arguments from both sides. I mean, obviously the journalist has been arguing on a freedom of information ticket, but BHP has been saying that they can't because they believe it could hurt their business. They believe that it'll be unfair for them to let the competitors know what their cost base is, etc., etc. So they've been fighting that all day now, and their judgment's been reserved, and then there'll probably be a decision come before the end of the year.
I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, how's it going to move forward from here? Because in the case that the journalist wins and he does have the information, how is that going to affect BHP Billiton's business?
Well, they're saying it'll hurt their business. They're saying it's confidential. Eskom is all ready to go. They'll put it out. There's no skin off their nose at all. What could be the effect is that already with Mozal in Mozambique and also Scorpion Zinc in Namibia, Eskom's already renegotiated those deals, which were under the same sort of long-term deal as BHP here. So what they've done, they say it's closer to an economic rate. So they're not saying again exactly how much.
Those deals there, not in South Africa.
Yeah, so if the South African deal, you've got Hillside and Bayside smelters down in Richards Bay in KwaZulu-Natal. If they have to renegotiate, there's a chance it put a question mark over the costs, and everybody's suffering at the moment. It could put a question mark over the viability of those plants.
I mean, it's a huge kind of toss-up because at the same time we talk about Eskom needing this money to build the power stations, question marks over whether they should be coal or renewable energy. But that being said, they are committed to building them and they need the cash right now. And so at this point in time, you know, they're going to have to come in and they're going to have to argue this case, and ultimately you are going to have BHP Billiton paying up for electricity, whether it be now or 5 years down the line.
Well, yes, in some ways it would make economic sense and it would be more revenue for Eskom. But as far as BHP is concerned, well, they signed a contract and they want to stick to it. But whatever happens, Eskom's going to have to build massively over the next 10 years. They've got to more than double over the next 20 years their output. And even then, there is estimates that that's not enough.
But I mean, of course, it does highlight the other side of the coin where South Africa is just becoming uncompetitive as a destination for heavy energy-intensive users.
Well, electricity costs, everyone's suffering. I mean, mining's suffering terribly. The costs have been rising steeply over the last few years, largely because of electricity. I think it is going to be a damper over business, but again, it's a difficult bargain because on the one hand, you do want electricity and to help fuel the growth, but on the other hand, somebody's got to pay for it.
And of course, you still need to keep the jobs that are being generated by these big industrial companies.